Awaken, Fridays at 6:30 EST, with your hosts Michael Seville and Joel Simmons. A channel whose focus is liberty. A place where the lessons discussed and taught will create openings to a more open and freer mindset. A mindset where you may reach the height of your potential and excel. Here are your hosts, Mike and Joel.
I came to this thought, I don't know when it was, last year or last 2 years. I have plenty of time to introspect, plenty of time with myself, etc. And I said, for men, it tends to be very simple. We've identified ourselves and we base it upon evolution, etc. A part of being a man is very, very simple. It's very, very simple. And because we make our lives so simple, we don't necessarily got to get caught up in all these things, but it's provide, protect, and lead. Right? You provide, be a provider, you be a protector, you be a leader. That's your part. I added this part to it because I thought it was so paramount, and it does come from the grace and the compassion part, is that part that you just spoke about. The patience part. The patience and the and healing. Those two things. And the healing healing requires patience. You're right. So can you speak to that part a little bit? Because now I think, especially in modern times, we have to add this, and definitely in our community, because there's just so much trauma, there's so much hurt, there's so much pain, that the patience and the healing has to come from the man. So can you speak to that, please? Because that, to me, because at that point in time, a lot of people can choose to leave or not leave because, in your mind, this child needs to be taken care of. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you have this relationship with your wife in which you made this massive change. She possibly hadn't at that time, or you couldn't see it, or she wasn't exhibiting it, and you had the patience in order to take her along. So what does that look like?
Yeah, and I mean, that's it, man. And she tried to make the change. She attempted to stick with me, but I was motivated by something that was life altering.
Yeah.
Her lifestyle was not the type of lifestyle that would bring that type of danger. It was the type of lifestyle that could be a ride or die, or it could be, a chill and get high.
Yeah.
Which a chill and get high does not necessarily mean that you're going to be in situations that are going to cause, for that type of danger to come. So she didn't have to exactly change like I did, because I did a 180.
Mm-hmm.
I did a 180, not a 360. I didn't come back to where I started. I turned around and never came back. So because of that, my only thought was, hey, I'm going to God, because I don't know how to change this dude.
Yeah.
This dude is messed up. I've been messed up for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to get out of my own way. I'm bad for my own self.
Right.
Oh, mama said Jesus. I don't really know who Jesus is, but I know that what I've learned about Jesus is he's pretty good. So let me go try him, because there's been nothing else that's worked for me.
Right.
And my motivation was not the Lord, y'all. Come on. That's what we get it mixed up. That's the same way with business. People, they get motivated to make money. Man, Mike, you tell them. Tell them, Mike. It's a tool.
It's a tool. You're going to find out real quick.
That ain't no motivation. My motivation is my wife. My motivation is my life. My motivation is Mike. My motivation is my son. My motivation is Anna. My motivation is my daughters. My motivation is Jazzy and Jomer. My motivation is being free from all these other things in business and in life. That's my motivation. That's why I do what I do. That's what gives me this power inside of me. Makes me feel like I'm on fire, ready to run through the wall and create something. So when that happened for me, because of the type of individual is, I was like, I got to change. And when I changed, I gained this patience, because the man that I had to become, see, you got to figure out, who do I need to be to take care of what matters to me? I say it again. Who do I need to be to take care of what matters to me.
Absolutely.
That's deep.
Absolutely.
And when you figure out who you need to be, you have to do everything possible to become that. And people will never understand it. Now, if they love you, they'll stick by you, but they ain't going to understand it. They ain't going to get it because they can't get it except they have been there before. And that doesn't mean they understand you. They just understand the process. It's like when you got a baby, you understand that a baby goes from crawling to from laying to creeping to crawling to standing to walking to running. You understand the process. And so you don't get all frustrated and mad when they won't walk to you. You just compliment them. Oh, baby, come on, you got it. And they fall. Oh, baby, you got it. 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 They walk.
Let me ask you a question, brother, as we go along that path, because at the same time, you were very young. You're a young man. You're going to it. What did having other older men or seasoned people around you, and you putting yourself, because you made the shift, you made the decision. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I'm looking to make this shift into what I want it to be for the protection of my child, to have this vision. How important was it to have that community of men specifically around you to kind of bring you along, as well as have that community to have that conversation with your wife to let them know that, you weren't off your rocker? Because I would imagine that, and I've noticed this a lot with men, when men decide to make that change, and I see it happen to me as well. When you decide to make that change, that other person is looking at you like, man, who is this person I'm dealing with? You go from going out and hanging out and you're in the club or doing whatever it is, and all of a sudden you reading books and you got your mind, your face in the Bible or whatever it is that you're doing, and you're not doing this. You're up early. Okay, so now they're seeing this huge change. How important was for you to have those people around you?
That's an awesome question, man. You got great questions, very stimulating. So just to be clear for all of the listeners and the watchers, first that thought came in, As a Man Thinketh, the first book that I tell people they need to read. If you ever coached by me, start there. As a man thinketh, so is he. So your belief has to go from your brain to your heart, from a thought to your heart. And once it gets in your heart, and I don't mean like pointing at the heart, but this is the best way I can tell you, because people understand this. And then after that, you start to speak it and act on it. So now this covers those 4 things that we talked about. I don't know if it's 3 weeks ago by now, and I only gave you 2. And then last week I gave you 2 more, but I didn't explain them. So a few weeks ago, it was words and people. And I explained those. Then the next 2 were environments and experience. And that's what Mike's asking me about now, environments and people. So environments and experience. So when you're manifesting this change, 4 things you got to do. And you may not understand it, but I'll share it with you today so you can know. Number 1, you got to change what you're listening to. I already told everyone about that. You got to change what you're reading, what you listen to. You got to change the words that you digest. That's first. The second thing is you got to change the associations, the people that you're around, And I gave a sliding scale about that. In the midst of change, it has to be absolute, y'all. I know people don't like to deal with absolutes, but it's got to be absolute. So it's positive, neutral, or it's negative. If it's negative, I said it before, cut it off. If it's neutral, cut it off. If it's positive, keep rolling. Period. You can't change with wishy-washiness. That's what it says inside of the Bible in the book of James. It's the first chapter, and it talks about a double-minded man is unstable in how many ways? All of them. Every single decision he makes, he's unstable. So if it's neutral and you think, you're going to be there for a while. So cut it off and just stick with the positive. And then the next one is going to be your environment. Environment means a lot. If you're in an environment where bad things happen, you can't keep going to the bar. You can't keep hanging out on the corner. You can't keep going to the club. You can't, if you want to make, I'm talking about positive changes, y'all. And somebody's gonna say, oh yeah, but when I go to the club, I'm just hanging and chilling with my peeps. I'm not doing nothing. But the environment is rich of people that are playing games on women and women that are playing games on men, and people may be drinking there, and people may be cussing and fussing there, and there may be a chance that something can pop off there. That environment is rich with a lifestyle that is not, that will not benefit you to live this positive mindseted lifestyle and directed lifestyle that you want to be a part of. Same thing happens in the movie theaters. If you go into the movie theaters and then they have some guy up there having sex with 3 different women, how you gonna come back home and just be sealed up with just your wife when you just finished watching the player get away with it on the movie screen? You got to turn that junk off. That environment is saying it's okay to do it. It's okay. You got to get into environments like a church, where people are taking time to meditate and to learn to be peaceful and to learn to have joy, and they're trying to get rid of their inner passions. They're trying to subdue their passions. You got to get around people that maybe are into something like a sport, or like learning a musical instrument, or doing something that is positive. You got to get around these people. You got to get around these environments.
I'm gonna add something to all of that, brother, as well. Because you know what? Because you're mentioning these things, and there's a book, and I'm sure I haven't read it yet, but it just sounds like it. I'm sure it's something similar in there. It talks about the mental diet. So the brothers definitely talk about you got to get on the mental diet. If not and you got to give yourself some time on it, 30, 60, 90 days. I'm not sure how long it is, because prior to that, like the brother says, you're double-minded. Your mind is polluted. There's all these, you don't know what's right or wrong. You don't know what's right or wrong, up or down, but you've established this lifestyle. I'm going to tell you what else you got to do. That's very important, and I want to put in there, is the food that you eat. If you want to get clear on your goals, you want to get a clear mind, you want to get it, you got to change your food. You got to change your food. You got to change your diet, and you got to change your you got to start to work on your body and it being your temple. So if your body's your temple, one of the first things you got to do is you got to get out there and walk, work, do whatever it is, walk, get around. You got to exercise, because it's hard for me to trust people who are saying a lot of these different things and they eating garbage as well. And I know it, because when I start to eat the garbage, I know how my mind goes, where my depression, where the different, my mind thinks, etc. So I just add food to all of that as well. But go ahead, brother.
No, I love that. Food, health, and diet. I love that. That's good, because food, you are what you eat. You are what you eat. You eat a bunch of junk, and you're going to end up producing junk. It does have an effect on the mind. I mean, just look at what happens with children when you feed them candy at a very young age. Uh-huh. They start acting all crazy and stuff like that. They can't control themselves. And then they start to develop bad habits. They just start to develop habits that are non-productive.
So let's get into this as well, brother, because when you say it like that, and so I'm having empathy for the people. You say it like, Mike, you want to change your life, sir. Yes, sir, I do. I had this thought. I want to go in a different direction. I hear you. Well, Mike, you got to give up all this stuff. You got to give up the hanging out. You got to give up this environment. You got to give up these people who you've loved for so long. You got to be around these different experiences. You got to start changing your words. You need to start changing your habits. On top of that, which I added now to furthermore, is you got to start changing your food, your health, and your diet, because this is what the pathway that you need to go to. Now that's heavy on a person, brother. That's very, very heavy. And so what do you say to that? I want to say, like, how do you communicate that to someone when they see it, because I would imagine that a person hear and see all that and they, what are you saying? I got to do all of this. So how do you let's give somebody something tangible, because that's a mountain of things that that we have to kind of do.
I love it, man. You are, and I love the way that you're framing your questions, because it opens up the doors and everything. I didn't even talk about the experiences yet, but let's just travel this way. Let's just travel this way, because it's very important. It's very important because this takes us back to the previous conversation that got us here, right? Patience was your question. Yeah, patience. That's what we started off with. And see, here is the issue. After all these years, people have changed. And you're like, well, how do I have patience? Because I was telling y'all, I was going through hell, but I put my wife through hell, and I stayed by her side long enough until she got herself into a certain space. And then when I went through my phase, she stayed by my side until I got through a certain space. And then we eventually met up again, and we were very much in love. That's a powerful statement. How do I do that, Joel Simmons? This is what I'm getting at, because here's the issue is that most of us will end up becoming, I'm changing. It's got to go from your head to your heart. Well, it did. It went from my head to my heart. So that's the reason why I can change the words that I listen to. That's the reason why I can change the people I'm around. That's the reason why I can change the environments that I'm in. And that's the reason why I can put myself in a position to be in the type of experiences that I need to have to create the chemical change inside of my body that will make me a more positive man, because it went from my head to my heart. I ain't just thinking about it no more. I ain't blowing smoke like they say. It's in my heart now. I'm ready to die for this change. But when I'm married, that don't mean my wife is ready to die for my change. It don't mean nothing to her. She liked me the way I was. Why would she be concerned with getting with the new Joel? This is when we got to start thinking.
Yeah.
What on earth did it take for me to get to the point where it went from I ain't just thinking about change to I got to change? My life is completely out of control. There is something inside of me that means so much to me that I am ready to mortify my own body, my own will, to become this different being. I got to do this. See, when you get to that point where you got to do it, E.T. would say, when you get to the point where it's more important for you to breathe.
Yeah.
It's
Succeed
more
like you want to breathe. And that actually was Les Brown, but shout out to Les Brown and E.T.
Les Brown did say that. You're right. Because he go way back there.
Yeah, let's give Les Brown his credit. I love E.T. though. E.T. is the man, but Les Brown said it. But yeah, so shouts out.
Right.
Let me speak to some of the things that you spoke to, brother. And I love the way you brought it up. This is golden. I'm telling you, I'm getting goosebumps. Is the patience part of it. The patience. Rome was not built in a day. The patience and the ability to lay that foundation. You want a strong foundation. That foundation will take patience. I'm not a huge believer in time, because you actually can make this thing manifest just like that.
You can.
You can make it. This thing could turn. It could be tomorrow, but you have already you have to have that identity shift, and a lot of us aren't ready for that just yet. The only reason why it hasn't changed tomorrow is because we don't have we're not making it so. You know what I mean? We're not creating it so. But have that patience. I also want to go back to which I'm working on, is the self-compassion portion of it. You got to have compassion for yourself, because you are going to possibly mess up. We are human beings. We're making these different changes. Things happen. You have to, and then with the self-compassion also goes with, and this is what's tough for a lot of people, is being looking down on the person that you were.
Yeah, there we are.
So I want you to look at that person of who you were. This person that was doing what they thought that they had to do to survive, because most of us, that's what it was. We were in survival mode. That person got you to where you are now. So just like Joe talks about the child, like we're not looking at the child, the baby, and saying, what's wrong with you? Everybody else is walking, everybody else is moving, everybody knows not to put that in their mouth. You know what I mean? Pause. Like everybody knows not to pick up a penny and put it up their nose. Like, what are you doing? You're not yelling at your child like that.
That was personal right there. That was personal.
like, so you want to look back at yourself, your past self, just because that's what it was. You might as well look at your past self as that little child, that little baby, and saying, man, you know what I mean? You was just learning. You came a heck of a way. I appreciate you for where you brought me. It's not going to take me to where I want to go because I'm making that change. I have that thought. I'm exposed to more things now. I got this different type of love in me, this different type of energy. And that's what you're talking about in regards to that transference of energy. And that's why you need to get away from these certain people and these certain things because energy transfers. But you want to turn back and you want to look at and be very, very compassionate to that past person. A lot of people, we just forget about it. Oh, that was me back then. That was a bad cat. He was a bad cat. Nah, he wasn't no bad cat. He was doing the best with what he was doing the best he could with what he had. And then when he finally got it, you know, because I would imagine a lot of these people, these men that you looked up to when you made that identity shift, they probably was there for a little bit prior to. You turn around and said, "Whoa, I'm shifting. Let me go talk to, you know, in your case, I want to say it was your father. Let me go talk to my father and have that conversation and see what he has to say about it, watching his behaviors." Oh my gosh. That identity shift is real, man. Go ahead, brother.
That's right. Well, I know we probably should close this one out. And I hate to just say this last little piece in such short words. Maybe another time we could talk about it. But when you're looking at your wife or the women that are looking at their husband, you have to, if you do those 4 things and you constantly invite that other individual to be a part of that. Yeah. Invite. Yeah. Everybody's free. They were free before they met you. Yep. Now you cleave to them and they are free still. If you all are not the same, it's because you haven't done what Mike said in the last episode, which was communicate. Your communication began to fail, and you weren't telling them your heart. You weren't saying, "Hey, I'm changing on the inside. I'm really changing on the inside. Hey, I'm changing on the inside. I'm really changing." Words. Words. I'm changing on the inside. Every time you say changing, it's going to start changing their chemistry. This is where I was going to get into the power of knowing who yourself is and controlling yourself, because words matter. When you start to say these things out loud, words have power. And when you're saying them, you don't have to tell, "Oh, let me tell you something." No, don't tell me nothing. "Oh, let me tell me something around you." Oh, that's different. I'm changing. I feel so much more peace. I feel so much more patience. I thank God for this. And I'm saying this every day. It begins to change the atmosphere. And people have to change around you because you've charged the atmosphere with a new spirit. Like Mike just said, with new energy. And when people walk into that energy, they automatically change. You don't got to say nothing to them. Too many times we try to take them by the hand and make them change. And they hate you for it. And that's why you're falling apart. I almost destroyed my relationship with my wife because I changed and I grabbed her by the hand and said, "No, you going to change with me because it's better over here."
Yep. Yeah, patience, man. Patience and love. Guys, I appreciate this conversation. I know a lot of you guys will as well. This needs to be a super promoted episode. A lot of fiery stuff, a lot of good stuff. I love coming here. I love learning. This is Community Beacon, man. This is Community Beacon. We appreciate it. This is how we start off 2023, man. This is the first month of 2023. You know it's only going to get better than that as we start to move along. Remember to like, subscribe, and share the episode. If you know anyone that wants to check it out, please send it off to them. If you have any comments, please leave them in the comments. Other than that, I think our time has been well spent, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Peace, everybody.